Well, let's discuss this and all the developments in the U.S.-Israel war on Iran now with Sultan Barakat, Professor of Public Policy at Hamad bin Khalifa University here in Qatar. Welcome back, Sultan. Let's start with what President Trump has been saying about Iran. There was an interesting line towards the end of the questions there with reporters where he said the U.S. operation in Iran was a military operation. He said this was just a military operation that was supposed to last 2 to 3 days. What does that tell you about the U.S. strategy 3 weeks now into this conflict?
Well, I think it makes it very clear that he's been led in by Israel without really having a clear objective from the beginning. And maybe this is what the Israelis have genuinely convinced him at the start, that this is going to be sharp, short, devastating intervention right from the beginning. We decapitate the state, and that's it. And he must have believed them in this. And I think, given what we know about his rather limited knowledge of the world and the details of how politics works outside the United States, some people say even within the United States, it's not surprising that he's now coming up with these sort of statements. What is really concerning, I think, is the way he's put on the table other options in that speech. You know, he said, we are holding ourselves from attacking civilian infrastructure, i.e. committing war crimes. We're holding ourselves from devastating their electricity, their energy, etc. We all know now that he has total dominance of the airspace and he can do whatever he likes in Iran. Now, from now on, people should just keep a watch and count what is he going after. And the worry is that if he's still going after the Israelis will lead him into all sorts of dangerous areas.
The Israelis right now are going after top leadership, from what we've seen in the last 48 hours.
They're going after top leadership, yes.
Yeah, so what does that say about what their end game is, Israel's, and is it similar to the US's end game in Iran?
Well, ideally, they would like to change the regime, not just change the regime, transform Iran into a friend of Israel, which is really, really far-fetched objective. So far, we haven't seen any senior Iranian defecting from the regime, for example, something that we saw in the early days of the war in Syria. Generals in the army, top politicians, people who speak out and so on. None of this has appeared. And also, we haven't really heard of any structured Iranian opposition. In the old days, there used to be Mujahideen Khalq, if you remember, who got hosted by Saddam Hussein for a number of years, acting against the Iranian regime. And ironically, it was the United States who pushed them out of Iraq after they invaded Iraq. And even then, we don't hear anything from their side.
Right.
So it doesn't look like a change in regime is imminent in any way.
It doesn't look like that because the system seems to be in place, a solid system. Now, on the reported killing of Ali Larijani, top security official in Iran, he's been reported as one of the figures most associated with strategic restraint within the system. How does his assassination, if confirmed, move the conflict? And how does it change the internal dynamics within Iran?
I think it closes the opportunities for a diplomatic solution even further. He's a very strong figure. Although he's on the conservative side, he's known to have acted as a bridge between everyone, including with the rest of the world. He's highly educated, fluent, able to communicate and so on. And I think that will make diplomacy a little bit further away. And from the Iranian perspective, of course, they will now see that Israel is continuing with this assassination agenda, which means they will not put any senior figure out there for negotiations.
The Israelis seem confident that if they continue to target Iran's leadership, there will be a leadership vacuum which they can then exploit. Do you see that happening?
I doubt it, not with the nature of the revolution and the state, the way it's structured with a 90 million people population and lots of regional decentralized decision on war and military and so on. It's not exactly, I mean, that may have happened in other monarchies maybe, but not with the way Iran is structured, I doubt it.
Okay, what about the Gulf region now? We've seen Iranian attacks on the region continuing. Yes. The leaders in this region have, for now, expressed, the need for diplomacy, the call for restraint, and so on. If the situation escalates, if the Iranians decide to pursue a maximalist retaliatory strategy following the reported killing of these two high-ranking officials. How will Gulf states respond?
Well, I think the Gulf states so far have gone really out of their way to restrain themselves. And I think it's the right thing to do because they don't want to end up with a direct confrontation with Iran, knowing that the United States and Israel will actually move on and leave them to fight on their own or the whole region to burn. And you could see already Israel has moved on to its agenda in Lebanon to some extent. But Iran has got to rethink now. I don't think the onus is on the Gulf states. The Gulf states have done their first step. The first step is to restrain themselves, to take a defensive posture. They've made sure as much as they can that no attacks are generated from their own land against Iran.
Even if the Iranians say this is not the case?
Well, even if, no, they say it's not the case, and they say they're not the people who are throwing the missiles on the Gulf either, and they're calling for investigation. So I think all of that is a good first step. But it's now up to them to make the judgment. Do they really want to fight the whole neighborhood as well as Israel and the United States? Or would it be better for them to now neutralize the region, knowing that the region is there for them when it comes to the end of the war? And I hope that this is a decision that they will make at this moment and focus their energy on where it really matters, including within their own state and the penetration of their own security.
Okay, Sultan, thank you very much for your analysis as always. Stay with us on Al Jazeera. More on the US-Israel war coming up in a half an hour after counting the cost.